Good morning and welcome. I am the Reverend Eileen Wiviott, Acting Senior Minister. Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home or you are seeking comfort and connection in these uncertain times, we are so grateful that you are with us this morning. We are an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth and love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us every moment and through every struggle that each of us matters and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, let us remember our oneness, our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. There are many links of connection in the comments section below, including credits for the readings and music to virtual religious education, for donations, and to be added to our email newsletter list. A few announcements. The all-church Zoom meeting will continue on Wednesdays at 5:30. We'll send you a reminder email in the early afternoon on Wednesday with a link to the Zoom meeting. And we'll hold a virtual coffee hour today, after this service on Zoom. You can find the link on to the Zoom coffee hour in the comments below or from the newsletter. And join Kristen Lems and the UCE Green Team for an Evanston Interfaith Virtual Earth Day celebration on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. There's more information about that in the newsletter. And now I invite you to get your chalices ready. And if you haven't done so yet, gather near you some elements, a small bowl of water, a rock you've found somewhere on your travels in life, or it could be a bit of dirt or sand in a bowl. It could even be a clay pot. Set a space for yourself and your family as we join in beloved community.
On That Day by David McCloskey. On that day the salmon shall return, whole tribes of them swimming together, giant chinooks, silvers and pinks, reds and steelhead, quartz-nosed leapers, old tail-walker mountain climber, mad for the glaciers, flooding the rivers, clothing the land, in its vast body, healing the scars and calling us home. And on that day the trees shall return, whole forests of them marching together, red cedar, the sacred tree, fir and hemlock, spruce and pine, redwood and cypress, juniper and yew, cloud scrapers piercing the skies, bringing down the rains, holding the earth, setting the rivers free, and the mountains shall become fountains of the waters. And on that day the animals shall return, whole flocks and herds of them, eagle and raven, otter and beaver, wren and hummingbird, coyote and bear, elk and wolf, and all the lost species shall pour from the ark, each to their own home place, and the woods and waters shall sing. And on that day, that great day, the peoples shall return, whole communities and nations, our families, friends, and neighbors, all our relations with the old ones from the time before time began. All the people who have ever lived here will gather together in one great potlatch to remember, give away as you were given. And the house of names shall call out and dance again, and on that sacred day the spirits shall return. Grandfather and grandmother, the great spirit, south wind and winter weave, sun, moon, and stars shall align us here down below. And the Lord of the mountains and the Lord of the sea, bear and orca, shall dance long looping circles together, restoring the hoop of the world. And our teachers shall return, all the great spirits of this region, be here with us now. All praise and thanks to those who help us learn to sing this land and find our way home. On that day And on that great day, and on that joyous day.
As we light this chalice in northern Illinois on the land of the Potawatomi, Miami, Peoria, and Lakota people, I offer these words as we begin our time together. This piece titled The Fire in the Universe by Shauna Trapp. Our chalice reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast, and our experience here is but a blip in the cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on this earth, that we live intently and deeply with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known. Please join with me in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now, join in singing with Morgan Mastrangelo, number 63 in our great hymnal, For the Earth Forever Turning. Morgan will be singing, but you will see the lyrics for this well-beloved tune on your screen.
for the earth forever turning, for the skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we a joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
And now, The Curious Garden, written and illustrated by Peter Brown. There once was a city without gardens, or trees, or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he became a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set up first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began.
I invite you all now to share your joys and sorrows, your concerns and gratitudes in the chat if you haven't done so already. And if you can enter them in all caps, that helps me to distinguish them from your comments to one another, which I love to see. And as you do so, enjoy listening to this piece, 50 Ways to Save the Planet, written and performed by our own Kristen Lems.
So this is called 50 Ways to Save the Planet. The answer is all inside ourselves, she said to me. If you love this planet, you must treat it tenderly. Don't just stand by and watch the problems grow, you see. There must be 50 ways to save the planet. 50 ways to save the planet. Stay away from styrofoam. Bike and leave your car at home. Keep the air conditioning low. Just listen to me. Use your head and use your feet. Don't eat so much red meat. Use the trash cans on the street. And plant a new tree. And plant a new tree. You can ignore it. Hope the problems go away. But 50 species die with each new passing day. It's not enough to hope, it's not enough to pray. There must be 50 ways to save the planet. 50 ways to save the planet. Sort your garbage if you care. Paper here, glass and metal there. Insist on it everywhere. Just listen to me. And when it comes to laundry time, put your clothes on the clothesline. Fresh air will dry them fine. And plant a new tree. And plant a new tree. It's really common sense. There's nothing so profound. There's only so much air and water to go round. Try living simply. It's as easy as it sounds. There must be 50 ways to save the planet. 50 ways to save the planet. When you go to the grocery store, put your cloth bags at the door. No plastic bags anymore. Just listen to me. you go to the grocery store, take your cloth bags out the door. No plastic bags anymore. Just listen to me. And when disposables, always go for reusables. You know it's just sensible. And plant a new tree. And plant a new tree. And plant a new tree.
These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared this morning from Liz Goodwin. My husband, Mike, has returned to work after being off due to an injury since mid-November. Liz is joyful for the extra cash in their accounts, but concerned about unnecessary exposure. Prayers are welcome. And Jolyn Cotton writes, Son, for our Earth Day observance, prayers for our friend James, whose mom died this morning. And from Adam Goff, a concern for all the ambitious students whose reach for the stars has been put on hold. May they find peace despite their restlessness. Kathy Shanley wrote this earlier this week. The murder of Tom Johnson and Leslie Jones is a loss to everyone who believes in justice. They were murdered in their home in Oak Park this past week. Kathy was friends with them for almost 40 years and celebrated her 70th birthday last year in their home with a group of friends. Sarah Vanderwicken echoes that sorrow beyond words for the shocking deaths of Tom Johnson and Leslie Jones. Barbara Mesley writes, for Tom Moraine, our family member, stage 4 cancer settled in his bones. Chemo starts Tuesday. From Amanda Hirsch, I am grateful for compassionate and loving good friends. From Kamran Jahan Shahi and Julie Milner, they are watching the service from New York, sending everyone lots of love and positive energy. So good to see your names. Donna Schiller, peace to all the gardeners of love and support at UCE. From Melanie Kitchener, I had a great week helping to get Realm updated with giving numbers. Thank you, Melanie. And from Noel Jovovich, a joy in this difficult time is being able to join services with all my beloveds in Evanston. And Pierre Frost, prayers for my family as we continue to fight to keep our home. Prayers indeed. As we hold all of these and the many joys and sorrows that are on our hearts and carried in the world beyond our homes, we join together in prayer and meditation. I share with you this Earth Day prayer or Earth prayer from the UN Environmental Sabbath Program. Great Spirit, whose dry lands thirst, help us to find the way to refresh your lands. We pray for your power to refresh your lands. Great Spirit, whose waters are choked with debris and pollution, help us to find the way to cleanse your waters. We pray for your knowledge to find the way to cleanse the waters. Great Spirit, whose beautiful earth grows ugly with misuse, help us to find the way to restore beauty to your handiwork. We pray for your strength to restore the beauty of your handiwork. Great Spirit, whose creatures are being destroyed, help us to find a way to replenish them. We pray for your power to replenish the earth. Great Spirit, whose gifts to us are being lost in selfishness and corruption, help us to find the way to restore our humanity. We pray for your wisdom to find the way to restore our humanity. Blessed be. Last week, our live stream dropped out before you were able to see this beautiful video recorded by several of our choir members and put together by Adam Goff. Please join along in singing if you wish. Many of you know this song, calling for more love, more peace, more joy, more truth.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more truth somewhere. There is more truth somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more truth somewhere. There is more love somewhere.
Hello, my name is Susan T. Moss, and I'm going to read a poem based on many times that I have spent in the mountains and the lessons I learned. Lesson from the mountains. Sometimes the path grows steep and the air slices into thinning doubt, but you keep walking past bitter stones of hope. A crescent moon competes with shimmering sun that washes over resilient granite like an urgent call to unwrap the fortitude saved for sudden barbed winds that splinter your heart like the white bones of dead trees. Golden flames of light exhaled by autumn aspens remind you to crack open crystals of courage on your halfway to somewhere, each bite of translucent sky, big enough to swallow all fear.
This reading from Mozart's Starling by Lydia Lynn Haupt. In the creatures that intertwine with our lives, we share everything. We share breath and biology and blood. We share our needs for food and water and shelter. We share the imperative to mate and to give new life and to keep our young safe and warm and fed. We share susceptibility to disease and the potential to suffer and the inevitable frailty in the face of these things. We share a certain death. We share everything, everything, everything constantly, every moment of every day and night across eons. And in this sharing, earthly living, when we give our attention to it, we will find the basis of our compassion and of our empathy for other creatures. And yet, we have so much more in common than these. Of the bodies of needs, we all poop, yes. But we ponder too, in a manner that may or may not be human, but is whole and wondrous. We are at every moment surrounded by consciousness, a feast of unique intelligences. Every creature has its particular way and wiles. Each being has its own presence, its own voice, silence, song, body, its own place. We are bound by our sameness and our uniqueness in equal measures. Both spring from our shared being of a vital and conscious earth. This is our wild communion. And it is in this recognition that we move beyond simple compassion to more certain, more essential, more a sense of relatedness, beyond compassion to kinship. We listen now to these beautiful song called The Gentle Arms of Eden, written by Dave Carter, but sung by our own Woody Haynes.
On a sleepy, endless ocean, when the world lay in a dream, there was rhythm in the splash and roll, but not a voice to sing. So the moon shone on the breakers, and the morning warmed the waves, till a single cell did jump and hum for joy, as if to say, this is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in this dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Then the day shone bright and round her, till the one turned into two, then two into 10,000 things, on old things into new. And on some virgin beach head a lonesome critter crawled, and she looked about and she shouted in her most astonished drawl, this is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in this dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of me. Then all the sky was buzzing, and the ground was coppered green, and the weary children of the wood came dancing in between. And the people sang rejoicing as their fields were glad with grain, this song of celebration from their cities on the plain. This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in this dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of me. Now there's smoke upon the harbor and the factories on the shore, and the world is ill with greed and will and enterprise of war. But I will lay my burdens in the cradle of your grace, and the shining beaches of your love, and the sea of your embrace. This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in this dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden.
Much appreciation for you, Woody. What beautiful piece that you did. I also wanted to name that I missed a few of the sorrows in the chat box. One from Jude Blair, expressing sorrow for the death of some of her students' family members due to COVID. And from Ellie Feddersen, a sorrow on behalf of Donna Feldman, who lost her brother last week. I want to also thank the UCE Green Team, especially Renee Hoff, Andy Schlickman, and Doug Erickson for their help in putting this service together, and more importantly, for their ongoing focus on climate justice. They had hoped and planned that today they would introduce you all to our new compost and recycling centers all throughout our building, which are beautiful. Alas, we will need to wait to use those when we're at church, but I hope that you are finding lots of ways to compost, reduce, repurpose, and recycle. I know that we're working on that at our house every day. The Green Team also connects us to the ways that we can advocate for climate justice through our partnerships with organizations like UU Advocacy Network of Illinois and Faith in Place, our shared offering recipient this month. 50 years ago, Earth Day was born out of such partnership. U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson worked with Republican Congressman Pete McCloskey to channel his anger following a massive oil spill in Santa Barbara and build off the energy of the anti-war movement. 8 years before, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring raised awareness of the deadly impacts of DDT and industrial pollution, a project that sprung from her deep awareness of the interconnection of all things. This interconnection, expressed in our seventh principle, is the root of the environmental movement, which grew, as all movements for change do, out of individual passion, motivated into action, and amplified through relationship. Today, satellite images show that greatly reduced travel and a halt in business as usual has cleared the air, cleared the skies. And it's tempting to take comfort and find hope that out of this pandemic, we might just be able to reverse the overwhelming human-made threat of climate devastation. On a warm, sunny, clear day such as this, when the world has been forced to slow down and simplicity can feel like a soft blanket over all things, it may appear as though all is well and the temporary stop will be enough to fix things for good. Emma Gilchrist, a journalist with the Canadian publication The Narwhal, wrote a recent opinion piece titled "What the Coronavirus Pandemic Tells Us About Our Relationship with the Natural World." She wrote, "As human activity wanes, we are now witnessing the natural world react to the slowdown in all sorts of ways. Deer wandering the streets of Japan, canals in Venice so clear you can see fish, improved air quality worldwide. It is a reminder of the tremendous impact humans have on the world around them, often without fully realizing it. It's also a reminder of the natural world's ability to rebound and our ability to shift our behavior when we absolutely must. But whether the impacts of this shutdown will endure is dependent on what we do as this shelter-in-place order lifts." Gilchrist asks, "Will more people work remotely than when this is all over? Will we ease up on massive business conferences? Will we all realize that making puzzles with our loved ones is more fulfilling than running around buying things? Maybe, but it's too soon to say." She goes on, "Change is possible. Politicians are now taking bold measures unimaginable even a short time ago. This pandemic will leave an enduring mark on all of us as we contemplate the fragility of life, the cracks in our globalized economy, our interconnectedness with all living things, and ultimately our ability to envision a future different from the status quo." End quote. It is possible that this Earth Day can be a turning point in our struggle for right relationship with the planet, but the benefits of this temporary shutdown will quickly be erased if we do not, in this pause, build the collective will to demand ongoing policy change. We will have to remain vigilant and accountable. We will have to remember that we are one. One of the dangers of this time of physical distancing is that it makes the illusion of our separateness feel more real. As our need to be apart stretches on into an unknown future, I worry that we will forget how to be together. Will we forget what it means to be close? Will we fail to remember our profound interconnection to each other and the earth? The flatness of our screens and the inability to touch and smell and taste things together forms a barrier around us that I fear will become less permeable the longer it lasts. Last week, I volunteered for the Produce Mobile of Interfaith Action. Since most of the regular volunteers are over 60 and the Greater Chicago Food Depository discouraged them from putting themselves at risk, Interfaith Action put out a call for less at-risk volunteers to sort and pass out boxes of produce and perishables. It was gratifying to be part of the team of 31 volunteers passing out 17,700 pounds of food to 412 people, which would feed an estimated 1,700 people in those respective households. I want to give a shout out to Sean Isles, husband of Sarah Isles, who capably led the team that day in an operation that was unprecedented in every way, in a new location using a new process with new volunteers. Admittedly, it was a chaotic experience, and I was aware that it was a different kind of service experience for me. With everyone wearing masks outside in the cold, I was unsure in each moment of where I should be and how I should help. It's clear that I'm not cut out for work on an assembly line. I kept moving from post to post, at one moment pulling handfuls of carrots and putting them into a box, and then distracted and trying to sort apples and bag kale. But more importantly, what was missing was a sense of connection between the volunteers. Even though we mostly failed to maintain that appropriate 6-foot distance, the masks covering our faces made it hard to recognize, read, or respond to each other. There was a prickliness amongst us, and I missed the soft forgiveness often found when sharing a common purpose. I wondered how we will unlearn this artificial distance between us. The earth is our teacher, offering endless lessons of our oneness with all creation. The sun, the land, the water, the air, and the creatures we share these with can remind us that we are interwoven with life during this time when our separateness seems more real than it is. Like birch trees bound together in a vast underground network, we are not separate. We can remember our oneness by more fully engaging in our embodied, lived experience. Each of us has the capacity to remember that vital interconnection through our shared senses. In this time when it is not safe to touch or share physical space, our need to feel the connection between us remains. Let us remember that we are all made of stardust, fluid like water, animated by air, and nourished by the sun. We are united in our shared experience of living through these bodies. And so we invite you into a ritual of grounding in the elements of our shared life and our oneness with the earth, the air, the fire, the water. Through this ritual, we commune with one another and rededicate ourselves to all beings in the planet. We honor our connections to our ancestors, those who have gone before, and to all those who stretch out ahead of us across the landscape of time, our children and our children's children. Let us, in this time of physical separateness, recommit ourselves to each other and to our claimed responsibility, and to claim our responsibility as we do to our children through the elements that bind us to our world. We sing together.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh.
I invite you now to, if you have a rock nearby or a clay bowl or some sand or some dirt, hold that in your hand with me. Imagine how old this rock is, this soil, this earth, how many millions of years this has been a part of the earth, and how these same minerals live inside you and me and all of us. Feel the coolness and feel the solidity. This reading is by Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, ground of our being, root of unified mystery, growing into myriad branches of expression, Bring us together now. Bring us close to the earth, ear to the whispering grass, quietly, attentively, waiting with slow breaths, listening for the very stones to cry out with their rocky stories of tectonic plates meeting and parting, meeting their mineral memories of Hadean days, molten rocks flowing and joining, their ancient legends of stars born out of the collapse of other stars. Help us to remember. Help us to piece together our oneness with matter, our oneness that matters, with one more deep breath. May we rise, star-stuffed, walking and rolling across the surface of an impossible blue-green planet. May we join together to heal what is divided. May we find wholeness within, without, among, between. Eternal source, seed of the universe, help us to grow peace.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh.
If you are able, open a window near you. Or you may hold a book or a piece of paper and wave it so that you can feel the air on your face. Breathe in together and breathe out. Spirit of life, bless us with clean air moving in and out of our lungs. We sing our gratitude as you feed our cells, generate movement and growth, express laughter, singing, whispering, and shouting. May we know your liberating, cleansing, and invigorating power. We let the air move through our lungs and over our vocal cords as we sing again.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh.
Please grab your chalice and bring it near you. Place the flame before you and feel its warm glow on your face, on your hands. You come from the fire, forged and shaped, nourished, warmed, and kept safe by fire. Blessed sun, fire of commitment and passion, illuminating and energizing flame, all these emerge from your power. May we share that power with wisdom and love. May we return again and again to the infinite and intimate interconnection with you and all beings on earth touched by you.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 oh, aye, oh, aye, oh, aye, oh.
And now place the bowl of water before you. I invite you to dip your fingers in, dab them on your forehead or your cheeks. If you have loved ones at home, you may want to bless each other with water. Ask if you may dab water on each other's hands, nose, cheek, or forehead. If you've got a glass of water near you, take a sip. May you be blessed by tears, rain, snow, and by the refreshing and purifying water of life. We honor the immense power of water that runs through us and holds us in strength, flexibility, and common need.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. I hear, I ho, I ho, I ho, I ho.
We commune with one another through the earth, the air, the fire, and the water. These elements are intimately woven through all we do and all we are, with every interaction and in every place we inhabit. Let us never take for granted the blessing of these elements in the fullness of our lives. May this shared experience of profound interruption give us the insight and courage to demand a change in environmental policies and resist the status quo of consumerism, greed, and waste. Blessed are we in our enduring oneness with all creation. May the knowledge of our oneness empower our commitment to tend and care for the earth and all the life she holds. Amen.
UCE remains a vital part of the world and our community. And because we continue to need one another in the blessings of community, we take this time to invite you to text to give to our shared plate. The instructions you'll find on your screen. UCE's shared offering recipient for the month of April is Faith in Place. Since 1999, Faith in Place has worked with people to bring an understanding of what is needed in the environment. Almost 20 years ago, Claire Butterfield started Faith in Place, and in that time brought people into legislative awareness. She brought 7 people with her to an advocacy day down in Illinois, in Springfield, 20 years ago, and this year over 700 people joined in the same advocacy day that she had started. What a blessing to be able to give to an organization that was started by a Unitarian Universalist and still today is strong in its advocacy to advocate for things like the Clean Energy Jobs Act. Please give as generously as you can, and may that giving bring you joy. As we extinguish our chalice, please join in saying these words on your screen from the Reverend Florence Kaplow. Linked to each other through the delicate tracery of electrons and through the invisible bonds of caring and love, sharing with millions the wonder and fear and uncertainty of this time, may each of us stay well and whole. May each of us find our ground of strength and clarity. May each of us let our hearts break open to new ways of caring for our neighbors as ourselves. May each of us know, even if we are alone, that we are held in a great embrace of love. And now, join member Lizzie Powers as we sing this beloved hymn, Blue Boat Home. You'll find the lyrics on your screen.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my drive and heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor, never port have I known, the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, till the great winds urging me on. Great the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Go in peace. Speak the truth. Give thanks each day. Respect the earth and her creatures, for they are alive like you. Care for your body. It is a wondrous gift. Live simply. Be of service. Be guided by your faith and not your fear. Go lightly on your path. Be well, beloveds. May we be together again soon. And until then, know that I am with you. Be well. See you at coffee hour.